Alright, we got IT2.
Oh, Johnson made it?
Oh.
IT2 Kilgore. LS2 Kim.
Hello everybody, it is Friday, May 24th, 09:15 or 9:15 a.m. for those of you who are not used to the military time. Wednesday night is when I shaved my head. And Wednesday night, it's also when the quotas came out. So I am right now in somewhere in the Middle East. We're like 7 hours from the United States. So the time of when things come out for us is much later than it would be in the States. In the States, it would be, sometime in the afternoon. But for us, it was like close to midnight. And, close to midnight on Wednesday, saw the percentages. Quotas basically means I am E4, Petty Officer 3rd Class, taking the E5 exam, right? So 997 people took the test and only 162 people passed or made 2nd class, right? So that's about 16%. So those are what's called quotas. Every rate has a quota. Some are much easier and some are a lot more unfair, right? So like ITs and OSs and AZs and some other rates have 100%, right? Some like HM have 1%, and some like SHs, ships, service hands or something like that, they have, I think from E3 to E4, it was like 0.25%. So like not even 1%, 0.25%, which is to me unfair, but that's a lot of people don't know that going in. So that came out Wednesday night, and on Thursday right about at 19:30 the results came out and I made it. So I'm very happy with that. For me to advance to Petty Officer 3rd Class, it took me 3 times. Right, a lot of people that watched my videos at the time would call me out on it, saying like, "Oh, look at Kim, he didn't make it. He didn't make it again." So looking back, right, I think the reason why it took me such a long time to make 3rd class was because I didn't really know how I studied, right? When I first took the exam, I think it was right about 30 something percent, like 35%. It's pretty high in my opinion. And so I would first study by I'd buy this BMR, Navy BMR LS study guide for $50. It was like 200 pages back and forth, so 400 pages of question and answer, and I would just like read through it. I'd spend a lot of time like reading through this, and it didn't work out for me. Right? I didn't make it. And the next time I tried with note cards, like physical note cards, and then I backed it up with reading. I got a little bit closer. I missed it by like, I forgot exactly. It was either 1.5 or 0.5, something like that. I missed it by a very small margin. I think it was like 1.5. And then 3rd time, I changed up my study pattern. I was trying to really figure out how can I best score and maintain and retain this knowledge, this information. And I used an app called Quizlet, and started using Quizlet and used it, took the exam, and I scored, I killed the exam. I scored 92 percentile. So basically out of everybody who took it, I was in the top 92, like almost like a low A minus. So I scored high up there. And so at that point, I recognized, all right, using Quizlet works really well for me, right? And then when I was studying up for my E5 exam, I said, okay, I'm gonna use Quizlet, but I don't know what to expect from this E5 exam. I asked around people who are E5s who've made it, and they said, oh, study this, study this, study this, study this. And I was like, okay, so I'm gonna focus studying on this one packet. A lot of the stuff that people have said came to this one packet, one study packet. It was about 30 pages. And that's all I studied using Quizlet. And then what I would do is, I forgot exactly looking back now. So I would do Quizlet, right? And Quizlet, I purchased the premium, or like the most basic package. It's like $12 for 12 months, right? And I got to, you know, do the flashcards. I got to do the match. I got to do multiple choice. And I'd get a list, and then I'd map out, all right, this is where I should be by this time. This is where I should be by this time. This is where I should be by this time. And then, you know, starting from page 1, I would study five subjects the whole day for about, you know, 4 or 5 hours the whole day, and I'd memorize it, right? It's like 40 vocabularies. I memorize a lot of vocabulary, so that's one thing. Like in the test, it's always multiple choice, right? So, you know, the test could be like, hey, define what this is, right? Which is vocabulary, which is mainly what I focused on, which was on my third class exam. So I studied for the second class exam, like the style of how I studied for the third class exam. But the second class exam was a little bit different, because the second class exam was, to me, a lot more of, hey, in this situation, what would you use, right? Different, you know, financial calculating ways, right? In the third class exam, it says, hey, what does, you know, planner mean? And then, you know, in the second class exam, it was like a long sentence saying like, well, in this situation, would you use planner? Would you use monthly? Would you use, you know, whatever it was. I'm just making it up as I go, but you get the idea. So that's what the test was. I wasn't really prepared for that, but how I studied was I'd study the first 5 topics, and then the next day, right, to begin the day, begin my studying, I'd go over those 5 topics on my Quizlet, make sure I get 100% 3 times, and then study my second 5, and then do that, and then the third day, go over the first 10, and then study the next 5. Because I spent so much hours, because I took leave at this time, because I literally took vacation to go home, because my girlfriend, and it was holidays and all that kind of stuff, my girlfriend was coming, but I'd study like 5 hours a day minimum, except for some of the times when my girlfriend came, and, you know, I was able to study maybe like 3-4 hours, maybe like 2-3 hours here and there. You know, sometimes on the toilets a lot, you know, going over it, and yeah, it all worked out. I don't know exactly what I scored. The scoring, your profile sheet, what it's referred to, comes out later on today, so I'll get to see that and see if I just barely made it by a hair, or, you know, if I killed it. I think I did. I going into it, I had a pretty good idea, pretty good knowledge that I had a good chance. Because at first I thought it was 35%, no, but it was 16%. At 35%, I was 100% sure I was gonna make it. But at 16%, I was like, you know what? I think I'll make it 80%. Because my reasoning was, and, you know, it doesn't mean it necessarily works all the time. People could reason and kind of like, you know, create ideas of like, oh, I want to piece it all together and this is how it's going to work out for me. And I've seen it not work a lot of times, but roughly the reasoning I had was to be so sure that I made it was because, number one, they were mapping meritorious advancement program, mapping a lot of people. And when you join the military, you'll, you know, hear the word mapping a lot, where they instantly promote you, right? So they mapped people back in March, like couple hours after I took the exam, they mapped people, right? So throughout the whole Navy, they mapped people to second classes, right? And the reasoning and what qualified them to be mapped was because they were exceptional sailors. You know, high-performing sailors, right? Maybe not necessarily the best studiers or test takers, but hard workers, right? Or they might be hard workers, and great study takers, right? Great at studying, right? So those people, the top of the crop, got mapped right away. And so what's left is the next level, which I would categorize myself, without going into too much into detail, right? You know, it'll take a long time for me to explain to somebody who's not in the military, you know, what, you know, MP is, EP is, because I came in with an EP, early promotion, which is the highest evaluation you can get. Just to quickly explain it, right, within a year, your performance is graded, right, through SP, significant problem, I think it stands for, and P, promotable, MP, must promote, EP, early promote. The higher, if you have an EP, you have a higher grade, right, more points going into the exam that helps you for your advancements, right? If you're going in with an MP, it's great, but not as great as an EP. If you're going with a P, you're far behind there, but you still have a chance. If you're going with an SP, you can't even take the test, right? So a lot of the EP sailors got mapped, and then there was me, right? I would have been mapped if I still stayed in supply, but I moved to AIMD, so they didn't map me. So the top of the crop for EP candidates, my competition got mapped, great. Then now it remains me and the MPs who are very smart at good test takers, right? So that's who I figured my competition was. And I kind of calculated it. I was pretty confident, and I made it. So, told my parents, told my girlfriend first, then my parents, very happy. And then, yeah, my mom, actually, about 3 weeks ago, letter from Department of Labor came to my house. Because in the military, you get credentialing called US MAPS. It's funny, it says MAPS again. I forgot exactly what US MAPS stands for, but whatever rate you choose in the Navy, right? I'm a logistics specialist. I get to document my hours into US MAPS, which is run by Department of Labor. And also, depending on where you are, you get a certificate, you get a letter. I also got a letter from Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia or something like that. But that certificate is like an actual legit thing. It's from Department of Labor. Where I apply for a specific credentialing or something like that. Credentialing, it's not credentialing, but it's like a certificate of proof that I worked certain amount of hours for this topic or something like that. And the first thing, I think it was like 40,000 or 80,000 hours for retail store management. So I got that about a year ago, and then the other one that I got was like scheduling or office management, something like that, which was about 20 or 40,000 hours. I forgot exactly, 4,000 hours maybe, not in the tens, but or maybe it was 8,000 hours and then 4,000 hours. I think that's how it was. My mom got that letter from Department of Labor, and she thought that was my advancement letter, and she was very happy. But I was like, no, Mom, it's not. It's not something else. That my advancement is coming up. And yeah, it was great to tell I wasn't able to talk to my mom. She was working, but I got to talk to my dad, and so that was good. And yeah, I mean that's about it. Celebrating with a snack. I'm running out of snacks, so I gotta ask my mom. Send her money. Send me some stuff. I ordered stuff on Amazon, but it still hasn't come. It's like sitting in a warehouse somewhere. So yeah, that's it for today. Oh, I got Game of Thrones in here. That's what I'm gonna watch. See ya.
I get lost inside my thoughts, and when I start to think, oh, the door close, it starts to end up on the brink. I tried so hard, but all these scars, they cut so deep.